Hi chaps, Simo P here from Beard, Biceps and Batchat. Today I'm bringing you a replay that was requested by Euthanasia, I hope I'm saying that right, and that is in the T57 Heavy Tank. Now, this game isn't a game with absolutely crazy 10k damage game, but I think you'll at least find it interesting. The T57 Heavy Tank is a very sort of risk reward tank. You've got to weigh up what you do and if it's worth the reward. So what I'm going to do with it is actually do something a little bit unusual on this map. I'm actually going to take it to a spot on E2. Normally I go there with fast mediums. You can disrupt the enemy's deployment. Generally you won't see a heavy tank push this aggressively to that spot because it doesn't have the speed to get there before it gets destroyed by the enemy team that's sitting on the 1-2 line. Now I had a little think. The main thing that could sort of push on me would be the T54, and I thought I've got a full clip, I've got 1600 potential damage on average RNG, so I wasn't too worried. So I thought throwing a T57 heavy tank here would throw a spanner in the works of the team's deployment. Now as you can see, we've caught them crossing a fairly open area, so we just start lashing shots into the Jaegeroo. There's the first, there's the second, then we pick another target. Essentially we've caught everything pretty much side on. Now I don't need to worry about playing RT safe because there is no RT on this map, so even though I'm spotted I don't particularly need to worry. So we've got all 4 shots off, we've got 4 hits with every single shot, and we can literally just wait, reload. We've got everyone, we know where everyone is, they're trying to cross. None of them are going to race across anymore because they know there is a nasty T57 heavy tank that is covering the opening. Now you'll notice it stopped their team deploying to the EF line along the ridge where you'd expect to see a couple of their tanks, and again that's because they're risking a lot of HP to get into an engagement point, and they'll lose that HP through flanking shots to me. Now the heavies on our side along the F line are just waiting for me to track a couple of these tanks. There's the T10, first shot, second shot. He decides against pushing too much further, he stays where he is. There's the third shot, straight into the track. He jumps behind cover as we sink the 4th shot into him. So we haven't missed a shot yet. We fired 8 shells, so it's a pretty good return on investment in this position. So just while there's a bit of a lull in the gameplay, when you're playing with T57, this is a fairly unusual way to play it, sort of mid-range. Ideally, because of the aim time on the tank, you actually want to play peekaboo. I suppose a better spot on this map traditionally for this tank would be down the 8 line on the right hand side of the lighthouse if you're starting on the K spawn. Now the reason for this is, with the update, the frontal armour of the T57 heavy tank has been upgraded significantly. It's not as good as an E5, but it's better than an M48 pattern, somewhere in the middle there. On third one, there we go, another full clip going in. I've only missed 1 shell. So it's got 4 shots in the clip, and the way you really want to play this tank is you want to trade 2 shots while you eat 1 in return. You've got enough HP and enough armour to risk taking shots of this tank without worrying too much. If you're playing with the rest of the heavy pack, you don't need to worry about becoming isolated or your reload. So the way it should work is, you put your first shot and someone shoots at you for 400 damage, you shoot at them for 400 damage, and you're doing 800 damage there, 400 damage. Since you've got fairly good armour, you should be fairly safe. And that's ideally the way you should be playing this tank. You shoot twice, you take a shot back. Whether it depends or not, depends on angling, the ammo being used and everything else, but that is the ideal way to play this tank. So the way I'm playing it at the moment is a little bit off the cuff. One of the things that can happen with this tank is that it's a reload. So 20 seconds to reload, 22 seconds, sorry. There's a couple of things you can do with this reload. You can either relocate and play as if you're not reloading. Now what I mean by that is, if you stay in the same position, fighting the same enemies, they'll count your shots. Once you've shot 4 times, they know you're reloading, so they'll push you. If you relocate to another area of the map who don't know how many shells you've shot, you can push them because they'll play in the mindset assuming you still have a full clip. So you can threaten to push them, not actually do it, retreat back because you're pretending you can't get a shot, push again, then pull back. They'll be trying to make sure you don't unleash a full clip. All the while, all you're actually doing is reloading and just bluffing that you've got a full clip but can't get the shot. Now it can be quite effective if you can get it to work. It takes a little bit of practice. It's quite a lot of bluffing, so if you play a lot of poker and you bluff a lot, you'll enjoy that sort of play style tremendously. Now, back to the game, because they haven't been able to deploy where they normally would down the E ridge line, it's literally been a case where we've pushed down the 1-2 line, swung round, we've won the middle, they've still got a couple of guys left on the lighthouse, and we've just cleaned up as they were caught between a rock and a hard place along the CD line, and we're literally at the point where we're just mopping up the last two heavies. So I've hoped you've enjoyed the gameplay. I know it's an unusual T57 heavy gameplay, but I thought it'd be interesting just to see how it plays when you put it in a position it shouldn't be in. It can surprise the red team when they're caught in a crossfire with an auto-loading heavy tank in a traditionally medium position. Somewhere that'd be really great for a Batchat OBJ 140. So it worked quite well. I can imagine there are times if the T54 had pushed me, if I'd got tracked on the way round, that could have ended really, really badly. So I'm very, very lucky it didn't end as badly as it could have done, and we're able to get to this point where we've got 13 shells landed out of I think 14 shots fired, so we've only missed one. That's not too bad, and we're just rounding up the last WZ. Many won for last one won. Now, there's one thing to point out with this last red heavy where he is. That is a very naughty position. What will normally happen is tanks will fly over trying to shoot him, and they'll just go over the cliff. He's being really, really cheeky, and I absolutely love it. I've used that position before, but people have been a little bit cautious and realised what he's doing, potentially because we're at a higher tier. At a lower tier it may have worked a little bit better, but very cheeky, and I love it. So we've rounded up the game with about 5k damage all in, not too bad. I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay, guys. I hope you're enjoying the content. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time, chaps.